Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today on today's CoolCare Masterclass, where we'll be looking at the staff portal and messaging functions on CoolCare and running you through that. As always, CoolCare is here to help making operating your care home easier, more efficient, and more profitable. Today, focusing more on the easier and more efficient side of things in terms of looking at our messaging and portal. What we'll be seeing today is kind of looking at the communication with your staff members and how you can do that through CoolCare in a couple of different ways. If anyone does have any questions as we're going through today's training, feel free to use the Q&A option on Zoom. You should find it on there, where you can then ask a question to us, and a member of our team will be on standby to answer the questions you've got. Anything you think of as we're going through, feel free to ask, and we can pick them up as we go through, and we'll have some time once the masterclass itself is ended for any other questions people might have before we wrap up. So, as I mentioned, what we'll look at today is using CoolCare's portal and messaging features to stay connected with your teams, about that communication with your staff members through CoolCare itself. Looking at messaging your teams through CoolCare, understanding how that works, as well as looking at how it can be messaging from your rotor as well, and how you can get the staff portal running for your staff members as well, and how they can use that to interact with CoolCare in a couple of different ways, requesting different things on the system, looking at the rotor and the calendar side of it as well. So, with that in mind, I'm going to swap over to my demo system and we'll get things underway. But yes, if anyone does have any questions as we're going through, feel free to use that Q&A option, and our team will be able to answer any questions you've got, anything you think of at all. So if I share my screen there, we should be able to see CoolCare now. So we'll start by looking at the messaging side of things. Essentially, CoolCare can send text messages to your staff in a couple of ways through the system. You can send them some manually, or some can go out automatically as well. The main thing that's required for that to work is essentially a mobile number to send out those messages to. So you need to set those up on the staff members for them to receive those texts from CoolCare. You can find that if you go to your staff records page on CoolCare. Every staff member you've got on the system, if I click into anyone on here, on the general tab, the very first page you'll come to when you open up their record, if you scroll down, you should find on here some address and contact details you can fill in. And as you might guess, the mobile number there is the important one to fill out. That's the one that's then going to allow you to send those text messages from CoolCare to the staff member, and that number there, so we'll be able to receive those messages from CoolCare itself. So that's all that's needed in order for your staff members to receive text messages from CoolCare. As I say, there's a couple of ways you can do that on the system. Firstly, under the Care Home section, you'll have the staff messaging page, where you could just send text to your staff members straight away from here, just by clicking the new SMS button up at the top right corner, and then filling out the details. So you can add staff members onto the message, so you can send to multiple people in one go. You're not just limited to one person at a time. So if you've got a message to let all your staff members know about something, you can text them from CoolCare all in one go. And you can even filter that list down to look for just certain positions if you want to send it to just a certain team on there, and filter it by either permanent or bank staff as well if you need for just a certain set of staff you need to send it to. And then you can kind of just click, it will only show staff members on the list that have a mobile number on their record. So if they don't have a record, it's not going to show on here, which is why I've only got a few records on this list on mine. And you can either click on them individually to then put them on the right-hand side to say we're going to send them this text message, or you can use a select all there to put them all on there in one go. It might be just my care team I need to know about this, so I'm not going to put in the maintenance onto that. If we then click add, then you can see this message is being sent to these 3 people, and I can send a text message to them directly from here. Just anything you need them to know about, you can let them know on there. And then you just say, let them know anything you might be you need to know stuff about. Could be, just stuff about, it could be, reminding them of things like training, for example, on there. Anything you need to staff members to know about, anything you can just, if you need to ask them something or anything like that, you can let them know. And this actually does become a conversation as well. So you can send out a message from there. There is a limit, and essentially it's only kind of a single SMS message limited in the characters on there. But we'll let them know anything else going on, send SMS, and then that'll be sent out from CoolCare to everyone that you've got a number for in there. They'll then receive that text message from CoolCare, And obviously they can respond to that. And if they do, it can then come back to you on CoolCare as well. If you actually click on a staff member that you got their messages in here, it will show you a history of the messages you've got in there, any texts you've sent them, and any replies they've sent back to you will go in there as well. So you can see that full conversation with a staff member. If you're asking them about anything, you can see exactly what's happened and see all that information you would need. So that's the staff messaging, essentially just a way to let your staff know about anything that's going on. You can text them directly from CoolCare with whatever you need staff to know about. But there are a few automated ones that can go out from a couple of places on CoolCare as well. The main one being for our rota, the staff one in there. So this staff rota here, where all your shifts are stored and where you can then add staff onto shifts and see where we've got gaps that need filling in with staff members. If we do need to find someone to cover a shift, one of the ways we can do that is through the messaging option. So I've got a couple on here you can see they're currently open. If I click into either one of them, we'll get a list of staff, and anyone that has a mobile number set up on their staff record, we have the option with the button there to message them. So we can send staff members a text message from CoolCare itself, again on here, and they can then receive that and follow up if they're available to do a shift. Essentially just asking a person if they're able to do this. Do it, we simply just click the message staff button, so I'm going to send it to just one of my staff members on here. And it will send it to saying, and they'll say staff not responded. That means they've received the message, but it's not been responded to yet, as you can see. And with this one, to say there's an actual response that they can give. So the way it works on the staff member side, which unfortunately I can't show you too well because I am doing it on a mobile, is they receive a text message from CoolCare. It tells them you've been requested to cover a shift, giving them all the details of that shift, the home it's for, the position, the date and time, all the details they would need to identify if they can do it. And then on the message itself, there's a little link they can open up a web page on their phone with and respond to that message to say yes or no if they're able to do it. If I say on my mobile, yes, they can cover it, that will then feed back to CoolCare. However, just looking at the rotor on here, you can't really see that someone's responded to that just by looking at the rotor dead on. Luckily, we do have a way on the rotor view to keep track of those messages and see when people have responded to them. This blue button up at the top of the rotor that says cover requests, if you click on that, you see it brings up this box on the left-hand side of the cover requests and telling me essentially about any shifts that I sent out a message for and if people have responded to them or not. So in this case, the one message I sent out for tomorrow's night shift, you can see in there, it's under the nights group. Care says at night is the position for it. And then I sent it to one person. They said yes, so it said one can cover. If that one person said no, it would say one unavailable. If they just not responded to it yet, it would still say one awaiting on there. And again, I sent it to one person just as an example on here, but you could send it out to multiple people all in one go. And you can see how people have said yes, no, not responded yet through that on there. Of course, that only gives you half the story. You're only seeing, if people have responded to it using that. However, you then know what shift we're looking at to see what this is referring to. We can then go into the shift in detail by clicking into it and seeing the full information of who's said yes or no and who can do that shift based on the responses. So in this case, where the one staff member I messaged has said yes, so it's put a little green tick there to say, yep, he could do that shift, and it even tells me the exact date and time they've responded as well. That's again, the big thing with it is once people do respond to it, it doesn't mean they're going to be put on the shift. You still have to choose who you want to do the shift once people do respond to it. So in this case, it's just confirmed, yes, I can do it if you want me to. Well, in that case, we can say, yes, you can do that shift then. Click on him there, which will assign him into the shift, and it will send him another text message on there. Because I've got this bit turned on the top where it says text staff when assigned to shift with that toggled on, it just sends a staff member a text message when they're assigned to an individual shift on the rotor. So with that single one I've just put him into, it sends them a text to confirm, yeah, you've been put on that shift, and again, gives them all the details in case they need them. So that's a good way to use that as a confirmation, essentially, when someone does ask for a shift or when you ask them to do a shift, when they respond to it, when you then put them on the shift, they'll get that extra message as a confirmation to say, yep, they've been put on that shift on that day. The other outcome of the messaging is if they say no. So just to show you on that, if I were to send a message to someone else on here with that, bear with me one moment, and I can pop them in there. Actually, we'll choose a different shift. Sorry, bear with me. I'm going to send it to the same person again, just on a different shift, message him for that one. Once again, staff not responded because I've only just sent it now. But once I do respond to it on the mobile again, do it on that side. If in this case we say no to this one, say it's unavailable for this other shift that we can't do. I just reload that, so I go out of it, go back into it. Instead of that green tick where he said he can do the shift, it's now got a red cross in this one to say he can't do this one on the C. The staff member declined it, so we can see that they're unavailable for that shift on that day. And from there, we can check with other staff members, see who else is available for it, and go from there. But again, it still tells me the exact date and time they responded to it in case we need to know when. Let's see, the idea with the messaging is you just send it out to multiple staff members on the shift, see who's available to pick it up and who needs to do what. From there, you can then make the choice on who wants to do that shift based on who's responded when they did. It could be first come, first serve. You can see who's responded the soonest on there. Completely up to you how you run it from that. But if you have to then the bit turned on the top, text staff on assigned to shift, it will then send them an extra confirmation to confirm who's been put on that shift for it. The only thing it won't do is let other people know they haven't been put on the shift. So that might be something you do separately through the staff messaging section under the care home if you want other people to know, just to make sure who has got that shift and who hasn't. Yes, that's the messaging kind of side of it. In there is mainly through the rotor and that staff messaging section for stuff you want to send out manually from there. But there is another way staff members can interact with CoolCare, and that's through our staff portal. So staff portal is a separate web page that staff members would access on the mobiles, tablets, whatever they use to access the internet, and they can see their own details and interact with CoolCare in a couple of ways. Main thing to be aware of to get your staff members on there is once again through our staff records. Get into a staff member on here. This time you'll need to go to HR and then the employment details tab under there. Under that, you'll find this box of employment details, and there'll be two grayed out boxes specifically on here relating to our staff portal. Now, these are automatically kind of filled in and created when you create a staff record on CoolCare. So as soon as you've got the staff member on the system, they'll be able to use the staff portal right away on there. And you can see in there, they've got a registration code and a portal username. Main thing for first time usage is that registration code that will be required. You can also see under there's a button to reset their portal password. So if someone does use a staff portal, they've forgotten their password, you can click that button there and it will reset their portal login, which means you just give them that registration code again and they can re-register on there. So we're going to register with this staff member and I can show you their portal. So to access the portal, I'm just going to open up a new page on my computer here. The link to use it is unique for each system, so the one I'm using for mine will be slightly different for each home for everyone that's watching. So you might need to check with someone who's got that details on your system, like your head office or an admin user that's got that information. If you're not sure, you can always ask our support team as well if you need the help with that. But to access it, in my case here, it'll be start the same way for everyone, app.coolcare.co.uk. Then the unique bit, which mine is my training database, excuse me. And /portal at the end. Doing that, we'll get them to a page that will look a bit like this. The main difference between this page and the main CoolCare login is the background. So, if you've got the blue background here, that's the staff portal. If it's the white background, that's the main CoolCare system login page you're on. So, to then sign up for the staff portal and start using it, for the first time, they'll need to go register here down the bottom, or if they've reset their password and they need to do it again, register here down here. They can then pop in that registration code. Let's say you would give that to the staff member from the code on their record. I'm just going to copy and paste it in my case. And it is case sensitive as well, so the capitals to be aware of. And then they can click next. It will then give them their username, which will be from the record, usually first name dot surname for them. And then they can create their own password, which just needs to be, I believe, 6 or more characters, or 8 or more, excuse me, on there. So they can remember that, complete that registration, and then we can get logged in with the details we've set up. So the username we were just given, we could pop it in there, the password we've just created underneath, and then we can get logged in. And as I mentioned, the staff portal can be accessed on mobiles, on tablets. It doesn't have to be on a computer. So if they get it up on the phone, they can see something a bit more like that. And the first thing they'll see when they log into the portal with this page here, their individual calendar. Essentially looking at the rota, timesheet, and calendar for this staff member in particular. And they'll only ever see their own details, nobody else's on there. That's the idea with the staff portal. So it checks the rota. If I pull it up side by side, their rota will be showing them any shifts they've got coming from the rota in CoolCare. So this person's on a kind of repeating a pattern I've got on mine. And so you can then see them all on there, the shifts they've got upcoming from today onwards for next week and the rest of the month beyond on there. You can see all of those. As well as that, they can see anything from your timesheets. So the hours on there, when they've worked a shift on the timesheets, they go into the hours. You can see on here what hours they've worked on what days. And if they've got anything on the calendar, holidays, absences, or training, that will go through onto here as well, as you can see, the holiday authorized, for example, and some for later this month as well in there. They can also use the arrows at the top there to go back to previous months if they need to see anything historic on there, such as there, some training that's had previously, for example, in there. Or to go forward to future months if they want to plan ahead. They can see their shifts for July already that's in there so far. What? And even ahead of that, if they've got stuff booked in, such as a holiday requested as well. They can see that right away from the top on here. They can also see at the very top of this page if they're currently clocked in or clocked out. If they need to check if they remember to clock in or out at the start of end of their shift, they can see that at the top of the portal right away as well. But if we open the menu, there's a couple extra options on here. Yeah, so the My Calendar says what we're looking at right now. They can go to Available Shifts. And this is another way they can interact with the rota. So, saw the staff messaging before, but the staff members can also request shifts from here. So they can see any unassigned shifts on the rota that they'd be able to pick up on here. And they can then put in a request to say if they're able to do that shift. So this way the staff members can be more proactive rather than you having to send them messages all the time asking them if they can do the shifts. They can see it on here instead and put in those requests to say, I'm available for this shift, if you want me to do it. So for example, we've got this one on the Saturday that needs filling in. This staff member might say she's available for that. If they click the request button under that shift, it will then immediately change to say they can cover it, saying that, yeah, they're able to do that shift on there. If they do change their mind at any point while the shift is still unassigned, they can change their mind to unavailable on that and back and forth as much as they need to. Of course, they can only do that while the shift is still unassigned and actually available for someone to pick up. Now, that feeds through to CoolCare similarly to the staff messaging, i.e. it shows up via the cover request box. They'll pop up in there, in that. So you can see this one, and it says they can cover for that date. And from there, I can go to the shift itself. It just shows ever so slightly differently to the messaging. Rather than being a tick or a cross, it's actually a little blue exclamation mark. That way you can see if a request has come from the staff portal specifically, like I say, staff being proactive on there, you can spot that through it. But again, still tells you the exact date and time to respond. They've sent that request as well. It means the same thing as a green tick, really, just saying, yep, I'm available to do this shift if you want me to. And from there, like you would with the messaging we did before, click on the person to add them onto the shift. It will assign them on there, which will send them a text message to let them know, like we did before. But also, if I go back to the staff portal and onto my calendar, we'll find the additional shift added in there as well for the Saturday. So yeah, the staff portal automatically updates when someone's been assigned to a shift. It will put them on there for them to say that's been assigned for you through that. So that's the available shifts. And they can kind of see as far ahead as you've looked on your rota to see shifts that are available and request them as they want to. And as you see, once a shift is assigned, they'll disappear from the list so people aren't requesting shifts that are no longer available for staff members to cover. It's a nice little way for staff to pick up shifts and, say, request them proactively rather than you having to text them all the time. The other thing the staff members can do through the portal is request a holiday. So staff members can see how much holiday entitlement they have remaining from their staff record based on, their total for the year, take away what they've booked off already. And if they want to book off some holiday, they can then put in a request on here just by choosing the dates they might want to book. So to book in a holiday request, they can choose a date picker there and go as far ahead as they want, really. They can go forward to as far as we need to. We'll say we want a couple of days off in September, for example. We're going to do, let's say, those 2 dates there, the 17th and the 18th. We're going to do 2 days off they want on those dates specifically. So if I then click next on that, we'll just confirm, are those the 2 dates you wanted off? That's right. Yep, they can click the box there to confirm it and then go next again. And they can also pop in a little note, a message to go with that request if they want to as well. Just pop one in there so we can see where that comes through. Next, again, one last time, gets them to just double check, confirm all those details are correct, and if they're happy with that, they can then save that, or if they're not, they can go back and change anything if they need to. But in this case, we'll save that, and that'll be sent to CoolCare. The staff members will see that on their portal if they go actually to that month now, the 2 days they've requested off and the shifts they would have on that day normally. And from there, you'll be able to pick it up on CoolCare itself. So the first place you typically see that easily is through your dashboard. Just for this widget here, calendar actions required, tells you about anything new that's been added onto your calendar. Yes, essentially, usually it's holder requests that need actioning on there. And I can then click on them from the widgets. It'll take me to my calendar. Your calendar here, where you then respond to those requests, you can click into it from here. And like holder requests in the system, any other one, you'd be able to authorize decline those days off if they can have them or not. So if I was to authorize both those days off, yep, they can have those to a holiday, that's fine. Save that in here, and that will then feed back to the portal. It also removes it from the rotor, which again feeds back to the portal as well. So if I say yes to that, that's all been done. And if I then go back to September on my staff portal here, we can now see those two holidays have been authorized, and the staff member, the shifts that were on there have been removed because the staff member has been taken off of those shifts as well. So nice way to interact and see your staff members to interact with CoolCare through the portal on there. So plenty of options, like I say, for communication between you and your staff members on the system, whether that's you asking them to do stuff through the rotor, through the staff messaging, or them essentially asking you for stuff through holiday requests and shift requests on the staff portal. Plenty of ways, and it's all instantaneous, the back and forth between the two as well. So as soon as someone sends a message or sends a request from one system or the other, it will then feed back immediately onto the other side of things. As soon as someone puts a request on the portal, goes through to your rotor. As soon as you respond to that onto the rotor, it will send feedback to the staff member on the portal, send them a text message if they've put in a shift or something like that as well. Yeah, all about that back and forth between you and your staff members, making it easier for you through CoolCare. Just remember, for the messaging, you'll need that phone number on the staff record, just to show you one last time. Just found on the general tab, the mobile number down here. And for the staff portal, remember it's under their HR employment details for you to find that registration code, give that to your staff members. And if they need the password resetting to do it again, reset the portal password, give them the code again, and they re-register, creating a new password. And that is what we'll be able to show you for this session. Just before we wrap up, though, a couple of things to let you know about, as always. We'll go back to my presentation. There we are. So, as you might be aware, if you want any additional assistance with CoolCare, any additional training, you can get in touch with our team. Whatever it might be you want training on, we can sort something out for you. And you might be entitled to some free training as well. Every customer will have at least 2 30-minute sessions free of charge with part of their CoolCare subscription. And you can contact us at training@coolcare.co.uk, get in touch, and we can see what training you have available and book something in, whatever you want training on. I suppose that, so yes. Thank you all for joining. All last thing just to say on this for today is, firstly, thanks for attending, and we'll see you next time for managing staff levels in CoolCare and showing you all that side of things. And that'll be, say, in 2 weeks' time once again. So thank you all for joining me. If you do have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A on Zoom, and we can answer any questions you've got now. But if not, thank you all for joining, and have a nice day.